Welcome to the 1K special. It was almost 10 months ago that I started to really get going on this channel, and now I'm at 1K. So to celebrate, I did a Q&A stream. Here are the questions I answered, as well as a couple extra. Also, we played a couple horror games during the stream, so those will be on in the background. And with that out of the way, the first question is, what was your favorite game of all time, and what was your least favorite? I'd have to say that my favorite game of all time is The Last of Us. On top of being one of the first games I ever played, it's also one of the only games I've 100% completed. I've played through that game a dozen times and I'm going to play through it a dozen more. My least favorite game, though, would have to be a smallish game known as Jericho. I played it back on the PlayStation 3, and I'd have to say that that game was not fun to play. The AI would just stand in front of enemies and then walk into walls, and then those enemies would be bullet sponges, and it really just wasn't my cup of tea. I'll have to get back to this one. If you absolutely had to choose, which would it be? Fred or Portal 3? Most likely, it would be Portal 3, primarily due to Fred being mostly meant to be a one-off. Fred was never meant to have a legacy, and I feel like trying to make Fred that legacy is making the concept of him far worse than it has any right to be. So with that, I would have to choose Portal 3 over Fred. What editing software do you use? As of right now, I'm using Wondershare Filmora 11, but that's only because I was able to buy it with a student discount. The one I used before was an open source free one called Shotcut, both of which are pretty similar, just Filmora has a few more quality of life changes and different free templates and stuff like that for you to choose, so I prefer it over Shotcut. What game made you rage the most? I'd have to say that was Elden Ring. It wasn't primarily due to the game being difficult, it was me not having the right equipment and hardware to run the game. I had like the bare minimum specs at the time and could only run the game at like 40 FPS. Also, the controller that I was using at the time had a messed up port, so if I moved it at all, it would disconnect and make the game stutter, usually causing my death. With both of those going on and Elden Ring being as difficult as it is, I got really mad quite a few times. What is your favorite challenge you have done? That would have to be the low gravity run. It was such a fun and goofy challenge, as well as having quite a few obstacles that I had to deal with. The main one was that the cubes wouldn't fall out of their dispensers. I'd have to float my way up to them and then bring the cube down so slowly with me. I don't know what it was about it, but it was just a lot of fun all the way through. Have you ever gone so far as to even think, do you want to do more like? Absolutely. What's your least favorite challenge so far? It wasn't really a challenge, but it was turning the companion stream into a video format. I don't know why, but even after I had gotten started on that video, I couldn't bring myself to work on it for more than 20 minutes at a time. Something about it just didn't feel right, and I kept second guessing myself on if it was even a good video to make. Like I said, not really a challenge, just transforming a challenge I really hated the process of. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back to this one too. What's your opinion on the Minecraft mob vote? While it's not the worst, I would much rather them add all the creatures that they're showing off rather than just the one that wins. Granted, I don't know how far in development these creatures are when the votes are taking place, because if they're fully developed with code, models, animation, drops, then there's no sense to remove them for the sole reason that the community didn't vote on them. But if they're still in the concept phase, then I can understand why only the one would come in. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I know I said a lot last time, and I mean it, because to be fair, if a woodchuck could chuck wood, by the end of its lifespan, that would indeed be a lot of wood chucked. Favorite Valve game other than the Portal games? As of right now, with recording this, the only other Valve game I've played apart from Portal has been Team Fortress 2, so it would have to be that one. Are you ever gonna finish the Portal Reverse mod? The answer to that is no, I will not be finishing it. It really just boils down to I didn't like the fact that some of the solutions for the puzzles were super hidden, and despite being made for a casual audience, it did require some interesting tricks to progress. Those tricks paired with some other flaws that I wasn't a fan of with the mod means I probably won't play it again. Also, how do you get on-screen chat that you use? So I use Streamlabs OBS to record and stream my stuff, and with that there's a little widget that you can put on screen and it's your chat. Have you ever played any of the Half-Life games? While I haven't, I do have them in my Steam library and I do have plans to stream them. Is just a small fine? Yes, Burn. Absolutely, just a small is fine. Have you ever thought about modding games? I have thought about it, but never seriously. The most modding I've ever done is Minecraft plugins, but even those are more of an injection of code rather than a modification to the game. What classes are you taking in college? As of right now, I'm currently taking 5 courses. Software Engineering 2, which is the concepts and practices that are part of developing software. Computer Architecture, which is basically what it sounds like, how a computer works and operates at the component level. Differential Equations, which is a pretty difficult Computer graphics, which is essentially learning the basics to OpenGL and how to use it, with OpenGL being a programming environment primarily used to create graphics in its own little window. And the last one is Elementary Statistics, which is your bare bones basics statistics course. Oh, another one. Okay, since all 4 of these questions are relatively the same, I'll just group them together. Opinion on Chris Game. At the time, I really enjoyed it. While as a whole, it was kind of janky and stitched together, there was still something pretty interesting there. But at the same time, I don't know if I'll ever play it again. I remember you saying that they were the steps for you to learn Hammer, which makes it all the more awesome. Which goes first, the cereal or the milk? Absolutely the cereal. But if you want to be technical, the bowl. When Chris Game gets completed, will you do a playthrough? Most likely yes. As of right now, I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't, but it is possible that something comes up in between now and then. What is your favorite section out of the Chris Game demo? I would have to say it was the part where it's the start of the big climb and you have to place portals in a certain way in order to get out of that room. I quite liked that one. Why did you start making videos? I started making videos because I thought it was cool. Even when I started, I knew I wasn't going to be the next Markiplier or PewDiePie, but the thought of making videos that people watched and enjoyed was enough for me to want to put in the effort to continue. Also, yes, my very first videos were very, very bad, and no, you cannot find them. I have scrubbed them off the face of this platform because I hated them so much. Why do they call it an of-in if you of-in cold food, of-out hot eat the food? Oven then make food tasty and good, so of-out eat food, happy little men. What do you like to do in your free time? What do you do outside of video games? It depends. I like to do arts and crafts kind of stuff like printmaking and drawing, but if something away from that catches my attention, I'll do that instead. Like last week, I bought a 500-piece puzzle and did it basically in one sitting for the sole reason that I wanted to. How many digits of pi do you know? If I'm lucky, 5. If I'm not lucky, 3. And for the last question, what is your opinion on a little guy? I assume you mean Among Us. It's pretty fun, kinda sus, but also kinda complicated now. I played it back in 2021 when it was a lot simpler and I really liked it. And that's gonna be it for the questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted their questions, and also huge thanks for getting me to 1K. Not gonna lie, I didn't think I would make it this far. I figured I'd stop making YouTube videos long before this point, so thank you.